Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Supporters of We March Bahamas show up in huge numbers for majority rule. That story coming up.
Hundreds march to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Majority Rule Day. A man gunned down near a Blue Hill Heights church Monday night. Now police need your help. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina McNeil. Topping news tonight, demanding explanations and solutions to a number of issues, including crime, unemployment, and foreign influence. Hundreds of protesters dressed in black marched along Bay Street today with We March Bahamas. It was just one of two major marches that took place on the 50th anniversary of Majority Rule. Tonight, our team coverage starts with Kyle Joaquin, who was deep in the action as We March protesters carried placards, sang songs, and despite being refused access, still made their way to Rawson Square.
We want our country back. We want our country back. We want our country back.
Where is our census? We got to wake up, and we waking up for the younger people. We want to pave the way. That's all we want to do, because all we see is if we don't do nothing now, I'd be sorry for y'all when y'all get older.
It's flooded Bay Street this morning for another big showing by We March Bahamas. This time, the protesters celebrating the 50th anniversary of Majority Rule, but still remembering the long road ahead for the country.
I want to represent all the entertainers and musicians that have sacrificed so much, have given so much to this country, and it's just like they never lived. All the Freddie Munnings Sr., the Blind Blakes, the George Simonets, and so on and so forth. They could go on for days, and they just like they never lived.
You know, months ahead, you were almost beginning to despair because things have been so extremely regressive in our country, and I needed to hear the voice of the people. I now see, feel, and hear my people.
And it's really a great show of solidarity and the cross-section of Bahamian people from all walks of life. But today I specifically march for teachers from Grand Bahama in the north to Inagua in the south, and I say to them, stand up for freedom, liberty.
And today, the people here are marching for a cause. There's a lot of things going on in the country, and those who have the power are not stepping up to the plate and answering to the questions that needs to be answered. So the people are just frustrated, and now they're walking and marching and showing that the power of the people are greater than the people in power.
In black t-shirts and some in all black, many protesters had their own concerns to be addressed. Among the list of issues, the Freedom of Information Act.
You know, Kyle, I feel it's deja vu again back to 2012, where it was passed prior to the election, but never enacted. Not only that, they tabled the bill last month, but there were certain sections in that bill that were not strong enough that meets up to the international best standards. So a lot of work needs to be done. It has to be stronger and it has to be enforced.
Majority rules from 67, and we're going to keep continuing. Because we ain't stopping now. Ain't stopping now because we rushing.
This is absolutely phenomenal. It is something that we've been waiting for dozens of years to happen in this country, when the majority of our black brothers and sisters, including our white citizens of this country, can get together and express peacefully but powerfully what this country needs to be going forward.
But as the crowd approached Pompey Square, many of them decided to go all the way. Now, if you can remember, this group was denied access to Rawson and Parliament Squares, but after a demand by the protesters, the march actually headed down to Rawson Square.
This is not making any sense. This can't hold us, crowd. Rawson Squares, we can hold all of us. You know, this is where we march on. The day is today. We tired of the government foolishness.
It was in Rawson Square that we ran into F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis and hundreds of other Bahamians demanding access to the public square.
Well, the people have finally arrived at their square. This is the Square of Liberty, and the people has a right to march to Rawson Square. And the people march for freedom. They march for freedom of expression. They march for a future, and they want to be heard. This is the people's time, and the people will be heard.
and I am marching here today because today determines my future, the future of the Bahamas, and how everything will work out.
It should have been a level playing field 50 years ago. It hasn't happened then, we got to make it happen now. So the people say, you know what, we're going to our square, we're going to talk about our parliament. That's where the laws are met. We're going to go there, we're going to take over that parliament, and eventually the people's voice would be heard.
The people is the government. We want our country for ourselves. The people want their country, the people want the power. The people have the power, that's the choice to show. Right now we are from the Rastafari community. We come to show right now what we protesting on. We protesting on legalize marijuana.
But March organizer Renard Henfield said he didn't lead the march to Rawson Square but stuck with Pompey as planned. It was there that he addressed the crowd, pushing for people to make their voices heard and get registered.
See the power right here? See the power right here? We don't need the mace. We don't need Rawson Square. No. The power is wherever we are. If we had met on the beach, that's where the power was going to be today. I've never seen an administration move a holiday in my life. They scared, you know. They're scared of your power because you realize your power now.
Joining him was former Court of Appeal President Dame Joan Sawyer, who minced no words when voicing her grievances with the state of the country.
If you go to the Parliamentary Commissioner's office or wherever to register and he tell you about your exposure, tell him, mister, you're supposed to be looking at my... You cannot deny my right. You can't make up the rules as you go along.
Now, Henfield says this is not the end, and you will see more from We March Bahamas, as this is just the third of 8 steps. Reporting from Pompey Square for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, a large crowd also participated in the majority rule march that ended at the Southern Recreation Grounds this morning. The march, which was organized by the Progressive Liberal Party, also attracted onlookers who lined the streets to witness the event that marked 50 years of majority rule. Jasmine Brown was at the march and filed this report.
The march made its way onto Blue Hill Road just after 9 this morning as crowds gathered to see them head to the park. The march, which was led by the Urban Renewal Band, drew hundreds of people. It began at Windsor Park just after 7 a.m. and made its way up East Street, then onto Bay Street before entering the Southern Recreation Grounds via Blue Hill Road. The event was first announced by PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts in December, days after We March Bahamas occupied Rawson Square. Speaking at the event today was Prime Minister Perry Christie, who insisted the march was not about dividing but uniting Bahamians.
Now, January 10th is a day in the national calendar that belongs to all Bahamians, not just PLPs, but to all Bahamians, black and white, rich and poor, young and old, city dweller and family islander, and yes, PLP, FNM, DNA, and the rest. Whatever that new party is, yes.
On the front lines of the march was newly appointed Senator and controversial activist Rodney Monker, who says he was invited to participate by senior members of the PLP. As for whether he thinks there will be any backlash for participating in the PLP-organized event, he had this to say.
I'm a financial member of the Free National Movement. Financial. True. I have 2 leaders. One is constitutionally appointed, decent Loretta Butler Turner. She can appoint and disappoint me. I've said to her, I must march with the masses. And I've asked her not to restrain me. And she said to me, you are a senator. And I told her, I'm celebrating Samilo. So I'm here to celebrate Samilo.
Then there were those who did not participate but watched from the sidelines, saying they came to witness history. Why did you decide to come out here this morning?
Because it's important for me to know my Bahamian history and where I come from. I'm here to celebrate 50 years of majority rule with my family and enjoy the parade.
It is important that we as older people teach them what it's all about, because I don't think they understand. Many of the young people said, "What do you mean you couldn't go to the Savoy Theater?" They can't imagine that, but I lived through it. And so I'm just happy, and I thank God for those people who sacrificed more than I did to make this day happen for us.
We owe it all to this man right here, Lyndon Pendleton. To this day, we haven't given this man his just duties yet. If it wasn't for him, 80 and the majority of these on this photo, I don't think it would have been like this today. We'd have a Bahamas, but I don't think it would have been like this. It feels good to be liberated, but we still have more ways to go.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Anglican Archdeacon James Palacios also participated in the Majority Rule March and even made some surprising comments while addressing the crowd. Palacios says while the country has seen many advancements over the past 50 years, there's still a long way to go. He insisted many of the issues are caused by too many black people having children they cannot afford, leading to the rich getting richer and the poor getting children. His comments drew applause and cheers from the crowd.
Recycling poverty, that's what we're doing. My MP in Montreal, Richard Lightfoot, made some most unfortunate remarks at the FNM convention. He later apologized for it, and that's important. Eh? When you make a mistake, you apologize for it. Don't let somebody else apologize for you. You apologize for yourself. Now, having said that, let me say this too. The principle of what he was trying to say, I agree totally. Black people breed too much. We get too many children that we cannot afford, and as a result of that, we just digging ourselves more and more into poverty.
Palacios was referring to comments made by Montague MP Richard Lightbourne made at the FNM convention last September. Lightbourne proposed that the country adopt legislation that mandates unwed mothers with more than 2 children have their tubes tied in an effort to curtail the country's social ills. Palacios went on to appeal to parents to stop being baby machines and digging themselves deeper into poverty.
As any baby machine, he put you here to be a productive citizen of this country. That's what we need. That is one of the struggles that continues despite the great gains that we have had. We talk about what PMHs are doing, but how are we treating our own bodies? How are we looking after our own health? You are your own primary health care giver. You are your own hospital.
The religious leader went on to call for all Bahamians to accept responsibility for their own actions and stop playing the blame game, as he insists it's the only way to progress. Well, Prime Minister Perry Christie admitting today that he had a frank conversation with Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner, saying she should follow in the footsteps of her family members who have been long-standing supporters of the PLP.
I said to Loretta Butler, child, you're on the wrong side. I said, I just look at this, I look at the statistics, and I see your daddy, your granddaddy from 1938 was running, your Uncle Joe or your granduncle Joe was running, your daddy Raleigh Butler was running, your other brother, your other uncle Milo Butler Jr. was running. The Butlers, Milo and his sons, all made this enduring commitment of courage.
Christie named the Butler family as one of the most influential in the modern Bahamas. Now, as for his position as leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, Christie had this to say.
We recognize that Justice Lyndon Pendleton passed the baton to Hubert Ingram and then to myself. The baton will be passed. The only thing I can tell you, at the right time.
Christie is being challenged for party leadership by former Education Minister Alfred Sears. The two will face off at the party's convention later this month. Still to come on our news, police need your help in solving a Monday night murder at Blue Hill Heights. St. John's College students speed their way into a solar car competition, and every little bit can help in the race for the cure. That's coming up when our news returns.